Greetings, I'm Gerald. I recently celebrated my 30th birthday and have an intriguing tale to share. Before the events that unfolded today, I wasn't inclined to believe in concepts or other spiritual notions, dismissing them as mere placebo effects. However, a recent turn of events has led me to a change of heart. I am now a staunch believer in the idea that what goes around comes around, all thanks to my malevolent mother-in-law and her equally unpleasant relatives. Except for my beautiful wife, of course, who remarkably transcended the negativity surrounding her upbringing. The saga began one sunny Wednesday morning in our home. Come down here for a second. What is it, honey? I have a favor to ask, and please don't say no. My wife accompanied her plea with the most adorable puppy dog eyes, making it nearly impossible for me to decline. With a face like hers, who could resist? She went on to explain that her mother, Jennifer, was coming to town and needed a place to stay. I sensed where this was headed and emphatically declined. However, she persisted. But babe, it's only for the weekend. Can't you handle a sweet little old lady for just one weekend? Little and sweet were not the words I'd used to describe Jennifer. She was the embodiment of evil. Despite my protests, my wife managed to sway me, assuring me it would only be for the weekend. Reluctantly, I agreed. Linda, my wife, expressed her gratitude, promising that she'd ensure her mother behaved impeccably. She even assured me that with any luck, we might not even cross paths during the entire weekend. Little did I know that this assurance would turn out to be a blatant lie, as the events that unfolded were nothing short of shocking. It was a Friday afternoon, and my mother-in-law, Jennifer, was expected to arrive soon. We had diligently prepared the guest room with all the essentials and a selection of her favorite items to ensure her comfort, hoping to minimize any potential drama or annoyance. Around noon, the doorbell rang, prompting my wife, who was in the kitchen preparing for her arrival, to call out and inform me of Jennifer's presence. Steel nerves in place, I made my way to the door and opened it to find a woman whose facial expression seemed more like a scowl than a smile. My mother-in-law greeted me with a terse, "Hello, Gerald, how was your trip? I hope you're doing all right." Inviting her inside, I assisted with her belongings and performed my hosting duties without excessive fuss or rudeness. However, a growing sense of irritation crept in as she embarked on a stream of ceaseless commentary. "Goodness gracious, the patio looks stunning, Gerald. Did you work on this?" she exclaimed. Trying to maintain composure, I replied, "Yes, actually I did. It simply looks gorgeous. Feel free to take some photos whenever you'd like, and sure, I'll take those bags upstairs to your room. Would you like me to prepare some coffee as well? I'd fancy a caramel macchiato adorned with a dollop of whipped cream if you'd be so kind." Did she assume this was a Starbucks? If you've ever watched A Streetcar Named Desire, you might grasp the essence of Jennifer's character. She mirrored Blanche perfectly, an individual cloaked in an air of superiority seamlessly blended with feigned innocence and naivety. Every stride she took exuded a self-declared blessing upon any observer. I detest such arrogance, and to worsen matters, she was rudeness personified. Just as this unfolded, Linda emerged from the kitchen to greet her mother. "You look stunning!" "Oh, stop it, Linda, do I? You're lying. Well, I suppose I do look rather well. It's this new diet I'm on. You should consider it. You appear as if you might need it, sweetheart. But not this weekend. This weekend we can do whatever we want. That's why I ordered my caramel macchiato. Speaking of which, Gerald, when might I expect that? I'm parched, and I need something to drink right this instant, or else I might faint. See what I'm talking about?" We enjoyed a beautifully prepared lunch by my loving wife. Soon after, I found myself Googling how to make a caramel macchiato. Jennifer made it her mission to dissect every flaw in the meal, followed by a swift reassurance that it was fine, but we should be extra careful next time to avoid such silly mistakes. She relished patronizing us. I could endure it, but I sensed that Linda struggled with her mother's pontifications. How could she not? That was her mother. I couldn't claim the same for myself. Revenge was my inclination when the opportunity arose. In the afternoon, Jennifer rambled on about her affection for the house, expressing it in her idiosyncratic way. Of course, I didn't quite relish it as much as I did Zanzibar, with its breathtaking scenery and even lovelier people. This vacation won't match those stunning places, but it's a vacation nonetheless. Perhaps this simpler vacation might humble me, considering I've been to many lavish places. It will be a nice and slower change of pace, I think. Admittedly, I often tuned out of the conversation. Even upon checking back in, hoping for a hint of interest, Jennifer's monologue persisted. She possessed a talent for stretching things beyond necessity. Nonetheless, the afternoon passed in chatter, mainly between Linda and Jennifer. I played the role of a decorative piece beside my wife, ensuring her comfort and occasionally contributing my 5 cents to the conversation, pretending to be engaged. It was around 5:15 p.m. that same evening when the tone of things began to shift. Linda, I must commend the exquisite state of your home ever since you arrived. It's truly remarkable. Thank you, Mom. Gerald and I have been diligently working to enhance this place. We invested a considerable amount of time preparing for your visit. The transformation is so impressive that I can't help but share its beauty. What do you mean, Jennifer? On my travels to places like Cancun, Fiji, or India, I've always brought along companions, be it friends or family. I've grown wary of solo vacations, especially in foreign locations. It's become a tradition for me to explore with companions like Julie or Emma. That's an interesting tradition. How have they been? It's been a while since we last caught up. Funny you ask, they're on their way here now. You can catch up with them yourself. Linda nearly chokes on her coffee, maintaining composure but urging. Linda, kitchen now please. We retreated to the kitchen to discuss the unexpected turn of events. Tell me she's joking, babe. I don't think she is. You assured me only she was coming, and we prepared for one person. I'm as blindsided as you are, babe. I didn't know until now. I paced the kitchen, pondering our options. What are we going to do? We have to tell her we only prepared for one person. Maybe we can arrange for the girls to stay in a hotel and visit during the day. Sighing and frustrated, I muttered, "This is all so convenient, isn't it?" Despite inquiring about Julie and Emma, my aunt-in-law and sister-in-law, I wasn't keen on hosting them all weekend. They shared some traits with their mother, making the prospect of having them all around seem chaotic. The discussion continued in the kitchen until Jennifer herself joined us. What's the issue? She started to pout, and strangely, Linda reacted similarly to how I did when Linda pouted. Jennifer had a way of using her puppy dog eyes to get what she wanted. It seemed like the apple didn't fall far from the tree in that aspect. Mom, please don't be upset. It's a lovely idea, but we can't handle this sudden change, especially on such short notice. Gerald and I were thinking of putting Julie and Emma in a nearby hotel, and they can visit during the day. Oh, and I mistakenly said Margaret earlier, it's Stephanie. So 2 more people are coming, meaning you want 3 extra people in this house? I'm sorry, Jennifer, but that won't work. Gerald, darling, don't be such a stick in the mud. Stephanie has to come. She hasn't been part of the tradition, and she's been wanting to join. Besides, she's your younger sister-in-law, and we should accommodate her. Honestly, you're not even considered our real family, so it makes sense for you to leave and the rest of the girls to stay. It's just for a couple of days after all. Mom, how can you say that? Gerald is our real family. Is he, though? You're putting him above your actual sisters. That's not what I'm saying, and that's not the main issue. We're concerned about space. We don't think there'll be enough room for everybody. I'm glad you brought that up because I have a helpful solution that will please everyone. Julie and I can share the bed in the guest room, considering how large it is, and then Stephanie can sleep in Linda's bed. There was a pause, and both Linda and I shared a confused expression. I finally mustered the courage to speak up. So, you want 2 people to sleep in one bed? I understand the bed is large, but that's quite uncomfortable and inappropriate, don't you think? Yeah, Mom, we're not kidding anymore. It wouldn't be appropriate for my husband and my sister to share a bed in the same space. I knew you'd say that, which is why I think it's best if Gerald doesn't stay here during this time. Another pause followed. At that moment, I wondered if the lady had lost all her marbles. So, you want me to leave my house? Gerald, darling, don't call me that. Gerald, don't speak to me that way. Linda, are you going to let him speak to me that way? Listen, I don't appreciate you coming into my house and making such last-minute demands. If you wanted a girls' trip or whatever you ladies call it, that would have been fine if you had made preparations in advance. Why didn't you just tell us this is what you wanted? And why would you say I'm not your real family? That's such a rude thing to say. I didn't think you'd be so upset and fussy about it. Honestly, you're acting quite childish in all of this. Don't you agree, Linda? I don't even know what to say, Mom. I don't think it's fair. Oh, your younger generation and being so sensitive. Honestly, I didn't do this on purpose. It must have just slipped my mind. I'm sure you understand. I didn't understand, but I looked over at my wife, who pleaded with her eyes. I sighed out of frustration and said, Jennifer, I really would have appreciated some better communication. As I mentioned earlier, I wouldn't have minded leaving you ladies to your own devices all weekend. I too would have gone on a boys' trip or worked at the orphanage. But springing this on people isn't appropriate. We are all adults, and as much as you view us as your children, we have invited you into our home, and you need to respect that. While I remained calm and politely addressed her blunder, she scoffed, walked around, and even laughed at times, seemingly attempting to avoid the embarrassment of being confronted by her sister-in-law. Nonetheless, I persisted in your desire to organize a girls' trip, assembling all the ladies for the upcoming weekend. If you prefer me to vacate the premises, that's acceptable too. However, I intend to return after this weekend. With those words, I planted a kiss on my wife's cheek and headed towards our room. Meanwhile, Linda attempted to reason with her mother, conveying my displeasure. Despite Linda's efforts, Jennifer dismissed my concerns with laughter, treating my feelings as insignificant. I packed a duffel bag with some essentials, signaling my departure. Subsequently, I secured a hotel room online before making my way there. Before reaching the hotel, I made a detour to the Open Arms Orphanage, where I frequently volunteered. As mentioned earlier, Open Arms is a challenging yet rewarding place to be, dealing with unruly toddlers, children, and teenagers. While engaging with the children that evening, thoughts swirled about how to address the situation with my mother-in-law. Let me clarify. I don't consider myself malevolent, but I do relish imparting valuable lessons. Perhaps that's what makes me well-suited for my job. I've cultivated a positive relationship with the children, balancing warmth and discipline. During my time at the orphanage, some kids sensed my frustration and questioned if everything was all right. After a brief explanation to Gerald, a sympathetic child, he opined that my mother-in-law's behavior was eccentric and suggested getting back at her to impart a lesson. Nevertheless, I pondered this for a while, struggling to come up with a plan. Jack, however, offered a game-changing idea. Enlist the help of the kids. We could help. Take a few of us to your house and we could make her weekend less enjoyable, he proposed, altering the course of my thoughts. I contemplated the situation extensively, and Jack, true to his name, appeared to be a cunning mastermind. The idea was brilliant. The kids could enjoy a much-needed weekend getaway, and simultaneously, I could settle the score with my disrespectful mother-in-law. Collaborating like three strategic masterminds plotting world domination, we made the necessary arrangements and patiently awaited the opportune moment for our revenge. The chosen day, a Saturday, unfolded as follows. Upon the ringing doorbell, Linda approached, only to be met with a delightful surprise. "Hello, Linda, Gerald, Jack. How are you?" she greeted. It dawned on her that 3 other children accompanied us, leaving her understandably perplexed. In response to her confusion, I casually explained, "Oh, nothing. I thought I'd bring the kids along to partake in the lovely vacation Jennifer was organizing." Leading the group into the room, consisting of children aged 5 and 8, notorious for their unruly behavior but equally affectionate when they wanted to be, I promised them an ice cream treat if they agreed to unleash their chaos. As we entered, Jennifer extended her morning pleasantries, unaware of the impending disruption. The in-laws, gathered in the living area, indulging in mimosas and croissants, gasped in unison at the sight of the unexpected guests. Jack took the opportunity to explain. "Well, Gerald informed us about the wonderful vacation happening in his home. Since we've never been on one, he graciously invited us to join the festivities." The in-laws, sipping their drinks, shared horrified looks. Simultaneously, some of the kids seized the opportunity to grab items from the table: bacon, pancakes, and large gulps of orange juice. The horror on the in-laws' faces intensified. At that moment, Jennifer rose and whisked me away from the impending commotion that was about to unfold. "What does this mean?" just as Jack mentioned. "I intended for the children to have their little vacation. I assume you wouldn't object. How can you bring all these kids into the house? It's overwhelming, and someone named Jack is likely to create issues. This was meant to be a relaxing weekend for me and the girls, you know. Oh well, I'm sure you wouldn't mind. It's only for a couple of days after all. Okay, listen, buddy. I understand you're upset. No, you listen here, Jennifer. I've had enough of your high and mighty attitude, acting as if you own the place. If you want to stay here for a vacation, fine. But the kids are staying too. They deserve to enjoy just as much as you do. So, next time you want to cause problems for others and be an inconvenience, remember it's not pleasant when it happens to you." And with that, I didn't give her another chance to speak. I just walked back into the living room to witness the chaos unfold. "Little girl, don't you dare play with that. That's an expensive designer bag. Don't you dare, I swear you little gremlins are causing so much havoc. Is this what vacations are normally like? Because if so, I don't want it anymore." The ladies were harassed by the unruly children causing chaos. You might wonder how Linda felt. I looked around and she was in the corner snickering. She found it funny too. You might also wonder how I felt watching my house being torn apart. I'll say it was worth it to see the looks of horror on my in-laws' faces. I didn't mind cleaning up, and Jack even said they'd be responsible for the mess and promised to help clean once they were done. I just needed to witness this moment of chaos as the ladies dealt with children they'd never had to deal with. It was awkward and laughable to witness the contrast between the prim and proper older ladies and the young, chaotic children. Well, it looks like everything is in order. I'll be on my way then. I'll pick up the kids maybe on Sunday. And with that, I left the house, laughing in my hotel room. I called Linda and told her that the kids weren't meant to attack her, just the snobby ladies. If she needed a break, she could stay with me in the hotel. I'll never forget that day. It was one of the best days of my life.